This is Doug, just checking for sound.
Confirmed, Doug. We are streaming, but confirmed.
Is anybody else there, or are you just letting them in?
I'm letting in the chair and Commissioner Richard right now. Chair, we are streaming. I'm waiting for the rest of the commissioners to join. We do have people in the lobby.
Okay, sounds good. Hey, Mike, how are you?
Long time no see. How you doing?
That's all right. Yeah, good seeing you. So, do we know if Tony's joining or not?
The email I received was he was not going to join.
Okay, so we're just waiting for Bonnie and Kumar.
Yes.
Okay. How many people in the lobby?
6.
Okay, that's good.
How many people do we have signed up tonight?
19.
Yeah, the list that Amanda sent me was about 20 some. So,
Oh, okay.
More.
but you know, last time we had people who signed up who didn't show up. So,
Okay.
I suspect that. I saw Bonnie for a second. So.
Cheers.
Well, I thought I was in the wrong place, so I
Okay.
left there, came here.
Okay.
So
You're just waiting on Commissioner Barbe.
Right.
So Ben, how many people do we have tonight?
22. We
Whoa!
have 7 in the lobby right now.
Whoa! All right. Well, Mike, if you need to, you can get another one of the trail mix.
I still have the trail mix you gave me. Thank you.
Well, I got some mint tea, but maybe I should go get some caffeinated tea.
All right. So we are going to tell people they got a 3-minute limit. So hopefully it'll move things along. So.
Yep, 3 minutes. I will warn them at 2 minutes and 30 seconds, and then ask them to wrap it up at 3 minutes.
Yeah. Okay. And you can always tell people, you know, if they want to expand on their comments, they can always send us written comments, and you know, we can
Yes.
take a look at that. So.
Amanda's going to call Kumar for us.
So, do you want to drop Kumar a note, or should I, or? I just tried to call him and it went to voicemail, but it hung up really quick. So
There is an unidentified phone number in the lobby. I can let that number in and see if it's the commissioner.
okay.
Hello, this is Ben Baker at the Maryland Public Service Commission. Who called in on the number 4437 ends in 53?
My name is Mike Rifkin.
Hi, Mike. Excellent. Just hold tight for a minute. We're waiting on one more commissioner and then we'll get started.
Okay, great.
Thank you. There we are.
Oh, is he here?
Yes.
Okay, good.
Commissioner Barve, can you hear us?
No.
All right. Here we
You're
go.
here.
All
Okay.
right, I'm in.
All righty.
Excellent. All right.
Okay.
So,
All right, regulatory gangsters.
yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, so Ben, you're gonna open the.
I'm going to open the, if you're ready, I will invite everyone in and we'll get going.
Yeah, go ahead. So,
All right.
all right. Good evening. This is the Maryland Public Service Commission's public hearing in case number 9692, the application by Baltimore Gas and Electric for a multi-year rate filing and rate increase. This is an opportunity for the commissioners to get comments from customers of the company. My name is Fred Hoover. I'm the chair of the Maryland Public Service Commission, and I will allow the other commissioners who are attending the hearing to introduce themselves, starting with Commissioner Sussman.
Hi, Bonnie Suchman, and thank you for appearing this evening.
Commissioner Barve.
I'm the infamous former delegate Kumar Barve, now commissioner. Thank you so much for taking your time out on a beautiful evening.
Commissioner Richard.
Good evening. My name is Michael Richard. I'm a commissioner at the Maryland Public Service Commission, and I also want to thank members of the public and customers for joining us this evening.
Okay, I will now turn this over to Acting Executive Secretary Ben Baker, who will describe the process that we're going to go through, and then we'll move right to the comments from the members of the public.
Thank you, Chair. Good to meet you all. Today, everyone will be given 3 minutes to speak. When you reach the 2 minutes and 30-second mark, I will just give a slight interruption to let you know you have 30 more seconds. And then around 3 minutes, I will ask you to conclude your comments. If you have more comments than you can fit in 3 minutes, we will happily take any written comments on the record as well. And I'm happy to reach out to any of you, or if you email me, to help you facilitate that process as well. I will call your name and come on screen, and we'll get going when after each one of you is called. So, Chair, if you're ready to proceed, I'll call our first speaker.
Go right ahead.
Okay, thank you. Our first speaker tonight is Councilmember Zeke Cohen.
Hey, the council member is running late for another meeting. Can I please have him join and after one or two other speakers go?
Yeah, sure. We'll come back to him. So why don't we skip to the next one?
Yes, thank you. Marceline White.
Good evening, Commissioner, members of the committee. My name is Marceline White, and I'm the Executive Director of Economic Action Maryland. Economic Action Maryland, formerly the Maryland Consumer Rights Coalition, is a statewide coalition of individuals and organizations that advance economic rights, housing justice, and financial inclusion for Maryland consumers through research, education, direct service, and advocacy. Our 10,000 supporters include consumer advocates, legal service staff, direct service practitioners, and low-income and working families throughout Maryland. I'm also a resident of Baltimore City, District 40, and a customer of BGE. We're here in strong opposition to BGE's multi-year rate proposal for the following reasons. We believe that the proposal is unaccountable. The multi-year rate increase is based on projected spending with little accountability as compared to basing it on prior year spending. The proposal would allow BGE to recoup costs for projects before the projects provide any benefits to customers. In fact, in this proposal, BGE can charge consumers for projects before the projects even begin. And in this sense, BGE wants to socialize the cost of these projects, passing the cost on to consumers while reaping the profits. More importantly, we believe that this is unaffordable. The proposed distribution rates for gas would increase rates by more than 3 times what BGE charged in 2010, while electric rates would more than double. For many of the clients that we see, this would be prohibitive and completely unaffordable. We work with older adults and tenants throughout Maryland. We've served more than 1,000 older adults this past year, returning $1 million in tax credits. And 52% of our older adult clients reside in Baltimore City and 17% in Baltimore County. The average income is $34,000, and nearly 20% say that utilities are their highest expense. Many would not be able to afford this kind of increase in their utility bill, and many are above the rate where they would qualify for assistance. So we believe that this is an unaffordable increase and would increase economic hardship for many low-income and working families throughout the state. We think it's not transparent. It has little accountability to justify the proposed rates.
30 more seconds.
Okay, thank you. And it passes the cost on to consumers. For all of these reasons, we do ask the Public Service Commission to reject this proposal and support an annual rate increase proposal with justified cost from BGE. Thank you, and I appreciate hearing from you and happy to take any questions.
Thank you.
One point of clarification for folks. Traditionally in these hearings, the purpose is for us to hear from you, but actually not to respond to any questions or ask any questions. So feel free to make the comments, but we won't be asking you questions, and please don't ask us any questions. Thanks.
Thank you. I appreciate the clarification.
Oh, that's fine. No problem. So
All right, we'll now go to Anisha Thompson.
Greetings, and thank you for allowing me to lend my voice regarding the BGE multi-year plan. My name is Anisha, and I'm a lover of Baltimore. Born and raised in the city, I have watched the citizens of this city continue to build the financial wealth of many companies. Gas and electric are a necessity for citizens. The multi-year rate plans provide projected spending with the hardest impact hitting the pockets of citizens. We are engaging in hearings for a second multi-year plan. Funds from the rates are for future projects, yet we are presently dealing with rate increases from the first multi-year plan. The second multi-year plan will yield a gas rate increase ranging from 40 to 60% and 20 to 30% electricity increase. It is asked that an equitable compromise be considered in any future planning. I invite BGE to seek options that do not aggressively attack the finances of the everyday citizen. I invite BGE to venture outside of its network of major companies and investors to find ways into communities to speak directly with your customers. Your sponsorship for community activities and events is welcoming, yet your presence in communities lacks intention and care. Before implementing a second-year multi-year plan, see your customers as more. Hear the needs of your customers. Value the input of your customers. Show you care. Thank you for this time.
Thank you very much. Next is Jamal Blake. Do not see them in the room. I do see Councilmember Zeke Cohen has just joined. Councilmember, would you like to give your remarks?
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me. Let me know when.
All right. You have 3 minutes starting now.
All right. Good evening, Chair Hoover and members of the commission. Thank you for the opportunity to testify on the BGE company's rate case. My name is Zeke Cohen, represent Baltimore's 1st District on the City Council. As you know, Baltimore is the core of BGE's service area, and on behalf of the constituents I represent and the entire City Council, I believe it is essential that we have a voice in the outcome of this case. On July 17th, the City Council adopted a resolution that I introduced, which called on the PSC to reject BGE's proposed multi-year rate plan as part of this case. I'm here to share why. Number one, I believe this plan is costly and irresponsible at a time when our neighbors already are having trouble paying their utility bills. BGE is proposing to replace all natural gas infrastructure that existed in the city as of 2013. While Baltimore does have some of the oldest natural gas pipes in the country, BGE could repair parts of the system rather than replacing all of them. I was in attendance at the August 15th hearing, and I was encouraged to hear that the PSC has been looking into best practices across the country for maintaining gas infrastructure without replacing it. Number two, BGE has not always been a good partner to city residents. I've been in office 6 years, and I receive many complaints about inadequate services from Baltimore Gas and Electric. I hear about disruptions to streets and sidewalks that are not repaired in a timely fashion, sloppy workmanship, and damage to homes by BGE contractors. And then most recently with the external regulators, we all heard about bullying that has gone on. And then finally, and importantly, I believe that this plan is harmful from an environmental perspective. I'm proud that our city has set goals for 30% reduction in carbon emissions by 2025, 60% reduction in carbon emissions by 2030, and full carbon neutrality by 2045. Upgrading gas service and forcing external regulators on folks is the wrong move at a time when our city and state are moving toward aggressive climate goals. The PSC only started using multi-year rate case plans on a pilot basis in 2020. What I would argue, and where I want to close, is that I want to really commend the PSC for removing BGE's electrification proposal from this case. This is one of the aspects of the rate plan that we specifically called out in our resolution. I strongly believe that is the right decision for our city, state, and planet, and I trust that the PSC will continue to hold BGE accountable as part of this case. We know some upgrades are needed, but not the carte blanche 3-year plan that they've proposed. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Our next speaker tonight will be Taylor Smith-Hams.
Good evening, members of the Commission. My name is Taylor Smith-Hams, and I'm a U.S. senior organizer with 350.org, which is a global climate organization dedicated to ending our dependence on fossil fuels by ushering in a fast and just transition to renewable energy. I'm here this evening both as a Baltimore resident and as someone who, through my work at 350.org, knows that utilities can and need to be a part of the solution to the climate crisis. I spoke to you last week about BGE's flawed attempts to install external fossil gas regulators that residents do not want. And I'm here again this evening to urge you to reject BGE's $600+ million rate hike over the next 3 years, which includes $1.8 billion in new gas infrastructure spending. We all know that we must transition rapidly away from fossil fuels and towards renewable energy. The climate crisis is here. From the deadliest wildfires in modern U.S. history in Maui to a tropical storm making landfall in Southern California. This extreme weather is driven by the burning of fossil fuels. So why is BGE planning a massive fossil fuel infrastructure build-out? Because like so many investor-owned utilities across the country, BGE prioritizes profit over people and the planet. If allowed to move forward, BGE's multi-year rate plan will increase our gas bills by 70% and our electric bills by 44% in cold winter months by 2026. Baltimore City already has the highest net energy burden in the state of Maryland at 11% and will therefore be disproportionately impacted by this money grab. BGE has already hiked our rates numerous times over the past few years. And what are they putting that money toward? Polluting our homes and communities and exacerbating the climate crisis by spending over $1 million a day on gas infrastructure. They're doing this despite the fact that Maryland has committed to reducing greenhouse gas emissions by 60% by 2031 and becoming net zero by 2045. Why would you allow BGE to continue to divest from the security and safety of our communities while investing in burning down the planet? BGE should be helping Marylanders electrify and insulate our homes, not hiking our rates and locking us into more fossil fuel infrastructure. The PSC must reject BGE's proposed multi-year rate plan and use its authority to put Maryland on a path toward climate justice. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Our next speaker tonight will be Laurel Peltier.
Good evening. Thank you, Chair Hoover and Commissioners. I'm Laurel Peltier, and sorry, I didn't know about the 3 minutes, so I just did a little chopping. And I chair the Maryland Energy Advocates Coalition, and we're grateful for the chance to weigh in on the BGE rate case. MEAAC, as we were termed by the PSC, is working to ensure affordable energy utility bills for limited income families. And also, I want you to know that many of our members work very closely with BGE in the monthly partnership meetings and also the low-income utility work group. Yet we oppose BGE's multi-year rate plan for 3 reasons. 1, low-income families can't afford their bills today to the tune of about $300 million a year. BGE residential arrearages are running at about double today, even while unemployment is low. And 2023 termination trends are on track to exceed previous years by about 50%. Reason number 1, the well is tapped dry. And this comes from a new Maryland Energy Burden study called Energy Affordability in Maryland, Integrating Public Health, Equity, and Climate. And from the report, it states almost 400,000 households, 18%, pay energy bills that are considered high, exceeding 6% of income. And that figure doesn't include another 50,000 that are over the 200%. We've loaded this into the system, the e-filing system for separate access, because it's a big, beautiful study that everyone should read. And how large is this gap? From the report again, the energy affordability gap, the difference between the total energy bills and the amount that they can afford at 6% ranges between 350 to 450 million. And 100 million gets deducted from OHEP, which leaves a $300 million gap. Number 2, energy rates were very, very high the last 18 months, and you can see the drag in BGE arrearages if you look at the PSC termination reports. 2017 to 2019 arrearages were, say, 50 million, and they're consistently running 80 to 85 million. So the rates hit high the last 18 months, and people can't afford their bills. And BGE is seeing that in the amount of their bad debt. Lastly, probably the most important data point is terminations are running high. This is really where low-income families feel the misery. And if termination seasonality trends stay true to previous years, we are on track to have about 75,000 residential terminations just in BGE alone. I just looked at July's numbers and we're at 44,000 already. That's BGE terminations residential. The norm was around 50,000. Families are struggling. What we recommend is BGE goes back to the table and considers including more provisions for low-income families, such as PIPs, AMPs, but something more to protect this large segment that already is underwater. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Our next speaker will be Mike Rifkin.
Thank you very much. Good evening, and thank you for this opportunity. I'm an AARP member, and I live in the Baltimore County area. I can only speak for myself, but I am in favor of the BGE multi-year rate increase if these additional funds are going to be used for upgrading aging infrastructure, enhanced vegetation management, improved safety measures for the workers that maintain the BGE power systems, and any or other use to improve the electricity standards and reliability. I would also like to add a couple quick comments with regards to BGE and the Maryland Public Service Commission. As a longtime resident within Baltimore County in an older established neighborhood with overhead power lines that run through multiple wooded areas, I wanted to thank the Commission for enacting the electricity service quality and reliability standards. Prior to these standards, the electricity reliability in my neighborhood was horrible. Tree trimming was almost non-existent due to the nature of our overhead power lines. Since the reliability standards were enacted, we have seen a significant improvement to the vegetation management throughout the entire neighborhood. I would also like to acknowledge BGE's efforts to implement measures to help improve our neighborhood's electricity reliability. When problems have been identified, BGE has always been responsive to our needs. We still have some issues that need to be addressed with regards to our overhead power lines, but I am hopeful BGE will take the necessary measures needed. I thank the Maryland Public Service Commission members for their time.
Thank you very much. Our next speaker tonight will be Ryan Coleman. We do not see him in the participation list. All right, we'll go on to Liz Cornish.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for this opportunity to speak. My name is Liz Cornish. I am a Baltimore City resident. I wanted to say that over the last few years, my BGE rates have increased significantly. When I first purchased my home in 2016, through a variety of incentives that Baltimore City provides for first-time home buyers, I was very excited to be able to begin my journey as a homeowner. Needless to say, that first winter was a tough one when I got the shock of what heating a 3-story, 110-year-old home costs in Baltimore City. I went on budget billing, $140 a month, very manageable within my budget. A year ago, however, I got a letter in the mail stating that my budget billing was going to increase from $140 to $226 a month. That was based, they said, on usage over time. The idea that we would then come to approve a multi-year rate increase for a public utility company that by its own math is able to just increase rates for residents without a lot of notice. Residents are already overburdened, many more than myself, and we know that we live in a changing climate. I don't think that anyone could have predicted the things that have occurred to us over the last 3 years, whether it is the cost of oil, whether it is the burden and the harm that is being done through climate change and what we have to endure when these utilities can't make these upgrades on their own. So what I want to ask the Public Service Commission is 2 things. One, I want you to consider smart business practice. We do not extend a private company's ability to say, we will increase this price ad nauseum for things that show that we can't even demonstrate the benefit to the individual, because these are improvements that will not directly benefit me in the short term while I'm paying for them. And yet we are also in a historic time of federal funding available for the types of upgrades that BGE claims that they need to make through the increase of these rates. So those 2 things don't necessarily connect for me. If we have a once in a lifetime opportunity to invest federal fund in utility upgrades, and the Public Service Commission has stated that utility companies are allowed to go after that federal funding with very little oversight from the public and very little involvement from the public about how they plan to invest those federal dollars, this is our only place
30 more
to have
seconds.
input. And so what I want to just let people know is that we're already feeling the burden, and I appreciate the Commission's time in listening to us today to say no on the multi-year funding. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your comments. Our next speaker tonight will be Paul Verchinsky.
Good evening, Chairman Hoover and Commissioners. I'm Paul Verchinsky, testifying on behalf of the Howard County Citizens Association, the HCCA. The Howard County Citizens Association recommends that you do not approve the multi-year rate case, or MRC, of $602 million until substantial revisions are made to it. BGE is the sole provider of both gas and electricity in Howard County due to its monopoly status. The HCCA is a 61-year-old volunteer organization that represents Howard County citizens in both state and county issues by testifying on various issues. HCCA has been very active in transportation electrification, and in 2018 helped to get passed the county ordinance requiring 1 EVSE for every new 25 units built by a builder and sufficient service capacity in new single-family residences. Since we are a volunteer organization, we do not have the bandwidth to review the 17 individual files submitted by BGE in support of their MRC. We will focus on just one issue that overrides the MRC, the Climate Solutions Now Act of 2022, the CSNA adopted by Maryland. We have known since the aughts that the path to decarbonization depends on utilities such as BGE to facilitate the connection of distributed energy resources. Since the MRC is proposed to cover a 3-year period, out of the 10 years covered by the CSNA, this MRC should be aimed at achieving and facilitating the 60% greenhouse gas reductions by 2031. In 2022, the PSC established the Distribution Systems Planning Utility Work Group to review each utility's planning process. What was found in that planning is siloed. There is no vision, nor goals, nor metrics adopted by any utility, including BGE, to facilitate the CSNA. The search of BGE's website does not provide on its website a plan on how it intends to implement the CSNA for its customers. File 301-409-133-064.pdf purports to fulfill BGE's contribution to the CSNA. What it does is for ratepayers to pay for tree planting, already being done by most counties in Maryland.
30 more seconds.
BGE costs to electrify its own fleet, and BGE's cost to install rooftop solar on its facilities. Really, we know that feeders and transformers may need upgrading, yet it appears that this major issue is not addressed. Where are there performance incentives for facilitating private rooftop installations on BGE's distribution system? To summarize, send BGE back to the drawing boards on the MRC. It has been authorized by the HCCA Board of Directors. Thank you.
Thank you, Paul. Our next speaker is going to be Valerie Hughes. I do not see Valerie in the waiting room. Our next speaker will be Patrice Sampson. Does not look like we have Patrice either. Our next speaker will be Joan Pontus.
Hi, my name's Joan Pontius. I've lived in Howard County, Maryland, 25 years, and I'm a customer of BGE. Thank you for taking my testimony tonight. I'd like to request that the Public Service Commission require that BGE's new rates adhere to the Public Utility Regulatory Policies Act, that's PURPA, which relates to federal pricing of utilities and was enacted by President Carter as an effort to promote energy conservation and increase energy efficiency. The regulations do not allow promotional rate structure where rates decrease with increasing usage. In PURPA, the definition of a rate is any charge or classification with respect to sale, and so includes credits and rebates provided by BGE. In spite of this, BGE has several price credits which amount to promotional rates. On BGE's energy saving days, customers can receive a credit in proportion to their average daily use. The higher the use, the higher the discount. Rebates for placing a thermometer on central air conditioning, or a thermostat on central air conditioning, or on swimming pools are available exclusively to customers who have these high-use amenities. These rebates and others can add up to $100 a year, which for low-use customers is the cost of 1 or more months of electricity. Yet by not being eligible for the discounts, these customers are charged full price. This amounts to a promotional rate structure with punitive prices for low-use customers, which is not allowed under PURPA. In 2014, I filed a complaint with the PSC, which outlines these concerns in more detail. BGE and PSC now have the opportunity to revise their pricing to put it in compliance with federal regulations. I have 3 suggestions towards this goal. One is to put an end to BGE's rebates that unfairly subsidize high-use customers. 2, adopt a tiered pricing scheme with discounted price for a baseline of kilowatt hours and pricing that increases incrementally for kilowatt hours that exceed that baseline. 3, offer customers discounted prices for electricity delivered during evening hours. This will encourage customers to schedule their laundry and other high-use activities in the evening when there is a low demand on the power grid. For the benefit of our environment, as well as for Maryland's energy efficient, low-use customers, which often are low-income customers, please adjust the rates so that they adhere to federal regulations and encourage energy conservation. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your testimony. Our next speaker will be Joe and Carolyn Isaacs. Isaac.
Trying to unmute here. Hi. Am I coming through okay?
Yes, you may start when you're ready.
Okay, great. Hi, my name is Joseph Isaacs. I'm a resident of Columbia, Maryland, and a BGE customer. And I'm speaking out today because I believe BGE needs to embrace Maryland's climate action plan and stop forcing the building of more gas infrastructure. Gas is dangerous. We've had gas explosions here in Columbia, Maryland. It's also poisonous, emits nitrates and other, even when it's off, there's some emissions from it. And most importantly, it's endangering our very existence with some of the worst gases like methane, which are 26 times more potent than carbon dioxide into our atmosphere at a time when we've had fires in Hawaii, flooding in Vermont, heat waves across the South, across the world. Maryland's climate action is great, but it's only going to happen if we regulate and watch things. We can't just turn over a multi-year rate plan and say, you know, and hope for the best. We have to be monitoring and regulating this and building infrastructure that is compatible with our goals. We don't need high pressure gas lines and external regulators. We need to move towards electrification. BGE needs to put customers first and our planet first, and not engage in gouging customers and endangering our existence and their existence. We need regulation for BGE. We need to emphasize the E, the electricity, and greatly diminish the G, the gas. We need to look at places like Massachusetts and Maine that have done this well with their power companies and make sure that BGE is reporting regularly. We have oversight and checking in to make sure that they are in line with Maryland's climate goals, which are impressive, but it's not going to happen by itself. We need the infrastructure to back it up. Thank you very much for your time, and I wish you a good evening. And I hope the remarks of the majority of the people tonight make an impact.
Thank you very much for your testimony. Next up, we will have Shirley Baker. I do not see her in the room. Our next speaker will be Ruth White.
Hello, my name is Ruth White. I'm also from Columbia, Maryland, a BGE customer. I'm testifying for myself, but my values reflect the organizations where I volunteer. These groups include Howard County Climate Action, which is a local 350 group, other local climate groups, and a local church that is part of a network of groups testifying for affordable housing and supporting families with low and moderate incomes. BGE's proposals would result, as others have said, in gas and electric prices increasing on an average $810 between 2023 and 2026. This is on top of rents that many families cannot afford. Some have lost SNAP benefits and reflects excessive profit for the utilities. The organizations I am want families to live in safe environments. As Joe just said, gas delivery to homes endangers families. Maybe half the homes in Howard County are already electric, but those with gas, the gas appliances leak, the stoves, especially even when not on, and children in homes with gas stoves, as everyone knows, have a 40% higher rate of asthma symptoms. With the indoor air pollution combined in Baltimore and in this region with the outdoor air quality due to the Baltimore incinerator, etc., it's no wonder that asthma is such a higher problem in the city than the statewide rate. We need to maybe, as Joe has said, and others, we need to move rapidly toward electrification of new buildings. And why then does BGE testify in the state and county against and discouraging measures to promote electrification of buildings and have such a go slow attitude? Why? BG sends staff to testify. I've heard them in hearings in the state legislature in Montgomery County, even where they're not as strong, as numerous a utility. And I've seen them talking to Howard County officials. BG wants rates to increase to expand its gas network, which is more lucrative than the electric network. Last week, I listened to the 8 hours of testimony on the Baltimore regulators, and it's clear that they have lost the trust of local residents. In Howard County, we also see new pipelines being laid, although we're a much newer area than Baltimore, and blocks of people are told to let BG in to replace meters or whatever.
34 seconds.
Okay, so the 3-year cycle needs to be changed to annual review. Again, the PSC needs to be reviewing everything carefully and make sure that this utility is serving the public interest and not just bankrolling money to be used against the public interest.
Thank you very much. Our next speaker will be Emily Scarr.
Hi, thank you, Chair Hoover, commissioners. My name is Emily Scarr. I'm the director of the Maryland PERG Foundation and a city resident. We're a statewide, nonpartisan, nonprofit organization based in Baltimore with public debate around many important issues, often dominated by special interests pursuing their own narrow agendas. Maryland PERG Foundation offers an independent voice that works on behalf of the public interest. And we join others who are urging you to reject the proposed multi-year rate hike and instead shift back to traditional regulation and approve reasonable rates for 2024 alone. Since 2020, when the BG&E's multi-year rate plan was approved under a pilot, BG&E has not demonstrated that they are using ratepayers' money to provide more reliable, safe, and cost-effective service. And we share the concerns from the People's Council that the multi-year rate plan has incentivized massive infrastructure spending, lacked accountability, and increased costs for consumers. So until the commission or the state legislature can provide further guidance and consumer guardrails on multi-year rate plans, we strongly recommend that the commission shift back to annual traditional regulation. As others have said, BG&E's proposal will lead to massive investments in polluting fossil fuels and massive utility cost increases. We already had our rates increase in 2022 and 2023, and the expected rate increase by 2026 is an additional $810 a year on average. It's just time to rein in BG&E's out of control spending on infrastructure that is driving up our bills, and particularly our gas bills. The proposal includes $1.8 billion in new gas infrastructure spending when they're already spending $1.2 million per day on infrastructure, including pipes, regulators, meters. This spending, we know, goes well beyond promoting the reliability and safety of the system. So, as we know, the shift to clean, efficient, all-electric homes isn't going to happen overnight, but it certainly calls into question approval of massive new spending on fossil fuel infrastructure that ratepayers will be paying off for decades to come, long after the goals for having transitioned off fossil fuels. We really appreciate the Commission's order to strike the so-called electrification plan from BG&E's rate plan. And again, we urge you to reject this increase in capital spending and instead approve reasonable rates for 2024 alone. Thank you so much for your service to Maryland.
Thank you for your testimony. Our next speaker tonight will be Paula Fernandez. I do not see her in the room. Our next speaker will be Rorik Coletta.
Hello. Hello, members of the committee. My name is Rorik Coletta, and I'm a Baltimore City graduate and now a student at UMBC. I was born and raised in Baltimore City, and I'm here to oppose BGE's multi-year rate increase. So I'm a resident of District 40, and I would just like to share some of my experience with BGE just from over the course of the summer. Throughout June and July, power in my neighborhood went out close to 10 times. Many of these outages lasted for several hours, lasting long into the nights. This was especially disruptive to me because I have a health condition that is exacerbated by heat. So these outages were particularly difficult. Additionally, on a couple of these occasions, these outages would occur multiple times within a 48-hour period. During these outages, BGE customer support was little to no help, and they couldn't provide me any information about why these outages were occurring. And the time estimates they would offer about when the power would come back on were more times than not inaccurate. BG&E took far longer than should be acceptable to provide adequate fixes for the problems, despite the complaints issued by neighbors and I. And even then, BG's initial fix was to station a service truck on the block for several days in the event of an outage, rather than to replace the damaged or faulty equipment that was causing the outages. The rate increase that BGE is asking for is not justified considering the poor service they've continually provided. People can't be expected to continually pay these already rapidly increasing energy rates when their quality of service is subpar. Thank you for your time. That's all.
Thank you very much for your testimony tonight. Our next speaker will be Liz Fang. My apologies, Fanger. Liz, you are in the room. I will send her a message and see if she's, oh, there we are.
Okay, sorry, I couldn't find the buttons. They were hidden. Okay, now let me get back to my testimony, sorry. Okay, thank you for the opportunity to testify. My name is Liz Fainer, and as a concerned resident of Howard County, I'm here to speak out against the BG&E multi-year rate plan. I'm concerned about the rising cost of utility bills, especially the gas distribution and delivery charges. I have serious concerns about BG&E's proposal to spend $1.8 billion on gas infrastructure when we need to be transitioning off of dangerous and harmful fossil fuels. BG&E has ramped up its gas infrastructure spending dramatically, replacing lines to expand capacity and not necessarily for safety and reliability. My neighborhood is less than 35 years old, yet BG&E is digging and replacing lines as I speak. I inquired and was told a gas line is being replaced with a larger pipe to expand capacity in our neighbor, which somehow benefits us. No one said it was being replaced for safety. I'm dumbfounded that our state is allowing this while the goal of the state is to decrease gas usage by electrifying our homes. Oh, sorry. In 2009, we switched from a gas furnace and water heater to a geothermal heat pump and hot water heater. We still have a gas cooktop, which I hope to replace soon with an induction cooktop. I compared my bills from 2013 to my most recent bill, and gas distribution rates have more than doubled in 10 years. My gas meter charge has increased by 17%, and Stride itself has doubled. And for zero therms, I pay $17.25 a month for my gas and delivery charges. For one therm, the gas itself is 29 cents and 18 for gas delivery charge. So silly me for not disconnecting and switching to an electric stove. And the zero therms itself is $207 annually for the gas and distribution at $17.25 a month. Spending more than $1.2 million a day on new gas infrastructure is outrageous. As witnessed in my own neighborhood, this spending is not focused on safety and reliability. Now they're seeking approval to spend another $1.8 billion. And on top of that, through the Empower program, BG&E provides rebates only when customers replace gas appliances with new gas appliances, and nothing for switching to electric appliance, locking in customers to a decade or more of burning methane gas and hampering our goal of reducing methane usage. As a BG&E customer, I am subsidizing prolonged gas usage because the Empower is on my electric portion of my bill. So please reject this plan and fix the Empower program too. Thank you so much for holding this hearing.
Thank you very much for your comments. Kate Sims will be our next speaker.
Hello. Thank you, Chair Hoover and Commissioners. My name is Kate Sims. I am a lifelong resident of Baltimore City, president of the Fells Point Residents Association, and a BG&E customer. I would like to express my opposition to BG&E's multi-year rate plan. I was one of the initial people to raise questions and join communities together with concerns over Operation Pipeline. Since February of this year, we have spent hundreds of hours doing research, attending meetings, and collaborating with residents throughout Baltimore City. With each layer we uncovered, the concerns grew. And while this started as safety concerns about the exterior installation of gas regulators and BG&E's predatory practices, I kept circling back to the bigger picture question of why is BG&E investing billions of dollars in infrastructure for a resource we are actively phasing out? There is no doubt the current low pressure gas infrastructure throughout Baltimore City is in need of some TLC, but the bigger picture question should be, why did BG&E make the choice not to repair the current safer low pressure infrastructure, but instead chose to replace the entire infrastructure with a new elevated pressure system? Also, as the state of Maryland is committed to moving away from fossil fuels by 2045, why is BG&E investing more than $1 million a day on gas infrastructure? While BG&E continues to claim this new infrastructure is for safer, more reliable service, BG&E has yet to produce justification that demonstrates the current low pressure system is either unsafe or unreliable to customers. Other than one isolated incident from over a year ago, which has been repaired, BG&E has shared no examples of customer complaints or issues with the current low pressure system. This raises the concern of who will ultimately benefit from this new system. Will it be the citizens of Baltimore, Maryland who will benefit, or will the benefits go solely to BG&E's profits? Had BG&E chosen to repair the current infrastructure, those repair costs would have been an expense to BG&E. However, choosing to make this a capital investment, every penny spent on this project will be passed along to customers through BG&E's current monthly Stride surcharge and next through the proposed rate increases. As more and more people move away from gas, who will be left to bear the burden of these rising costs? Considering Maryland's Climate Solutions Now Act, there should be more focus on electrification, not investing in large-scale, unnecessary new gas infrastructure. To prioritize this goal, BG&E could be collaboratively working with customers on a reasonable timeline towards electrification instead of forcing new gas infrastructure upon customers with little to no warning. Who has considered the effects of the irreparable harm caused to roads and homes, not only during installation, but also when these new lines and regulators become stranded assets
30 more
as fossil
seconds.
fuels are phased out within the next 22 years? The installation of this new gas infrastructure further locks Baltimore, Maryland into gas infrastructure that reinforces our unsustainable dependence on fossil fuels, reduces BG&E maintenance costs and liabilities, contributes to climate change, and hurts public health. Today, I'm asking for the PSC to focus on what is truly just, reasonable, and transparent for the public, and to reject BG&E's proposed multi-year rate plan based on the safety implications of it, as well as the long-term financial and climate impacts. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your testimony. Our next speaker is Theron Russell. I do not see them in the room. That was our last speaker. Mr. Chair, would you like me to run back to the list of those who did not show to see if they're in the room now?
Sure. Yeah, you can do that. Yeah.
Okay. Jamal Blake. Ryan Coleman. Valerie Hughes. Patrice Sampson. Shirley Blake.
Baker.
Baker.
Yeah.
Sorry. my last name too. Paula Fernandez. All right. And Theron Russell. All right. That's it, Mr. Chair.
All right. Well, I want to thank all of the individuals who spoke tonight with your well-researched and thoughtful comments. This is an important part of the process that we go through in considering BG&E's application, and we will give strong consideration to the comments that we heard tonight, along with the comments that we heard at the first public hearing and the comments that we will hear at the third public hearing. So I thank all of you for taking time tonight to bring your thoughts to us. And with that, we will conclude the hearing. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.